Hey guys, Jack Posobiec here, your Washington bureau chief for Rebel Media. Now, I'm a journalist, but I come from a political background where I was special projects director for Citizens for Trump in the last election. We had a great time fighting hard, whether it was mocking anti-Trump protests, making funny Twitter memes that went viral, fighting against leftists, both in the Democrat Party and in the media, which are often the same thing, and that is why I love the Rebel. But last week, I went too far, and I need to correct something, and actually, I'd like to make an apology. Just 2 days before the French presidential election, I was the first person in the world to tweet about the massive leak of secret documents from the campaign of Emmanuel Macron, who went on to win the vote. We called it Macron leaks. Now, I hadn't leaked them myself. I hadn't posted them to the internet myself. Someone else did. I don't know who, but I was the first to tweet about them. Those leaked documents were filled with shocking revelations that were in the public interest. It was like the WikiLeaks documents from the Hillary Clinton campaign that revealed the truth about her activities and her character. In fact, WikiLeaks themselves later came out and verified the trove of thousands of documents, the vast majority of which have yet to be investigated. For tweeting out these Macron leaks, I received dozens of inquiries from left-wing reporters around the world. Everyone from the New York Times to Reuters to Le Monde wrote about it, which is odd. Why would other media want to report about me tweeting about the existence of these leak scandals instead of reporting about the scandals in the leaks themselves? Isn't that odd? It would be like if the first 100 stories about Watergate didn't actually say what Watergate was or mention the break-in, but only if they talked about who Woodward and Bernstein were. Wouldn't that be, I don't know, weird? I thought so. So here's the game. It allowed leftist journalists to pretend they were covering the Macron leaks without actually covering the Macron leaks. And they could indulge in their personal conspiracy theories about the right-wing media and the Russians or whoever they're blaming today. That is contemptible journalism. It's fake news. When I was contacted by those journalists, I gave it to them as much as I felt they were giving it to me. I trolled them. I gave flippant answers and I mocked them. It's all they deserved. I said the most audacious things I could think of. I was going to run for president of France myself. I said I was ready to give a speech before the French Parliament, and they all reported these absurd replies, not realizing that I was mocking them because they didn't want to actually report on the real news, and they loved deluding themselves that this was some sinister KGB plot or something. But in one case, my trolling of these leftist journalists went too far. When Montreal's La Presse asked me their stupid questions, my flippant answers included something that just wasn't true. I said that the Rebels' Quebec bureau chief, Eric Duhem, had been at the center of the Macron leak story and that Eric had been instrumental in translating the documents. That part was not true. Eric didn't translate any documents for me. He made a few videos on the subject himself, which were published on our YouTube page. That part wasn't true. Eric didn't translate any documents for me. He made a few videos on the subject himself, which were published on our YouTube page. He didn't have a role in spreading the Macron leaks other than to report on them in his own videos. I was trolling La Presse, and they ran with it, partly because they're, well, stupid, but partly because they hate Eric, and they thought they finally got him as some sort of spy or something. So my attempt to troll La Presse backfired, and it blew up on Eric. When I heard that La Presse was writing a serious story about that, I wrote back to them, correcting the record in full, but they still ran with it, because they'd rather run a fake news story attacking Eric for something he didn't do than a real news story about Emmanuel Macron, now the president of France, for something he did do. It's a lesson for me. I'm not a political activist now. I'm a serious journalist with White House credentials. And in my trolling of La Presse, I made a mistake. I said something about Eric, a colleague, that wasn't true. And I said it in a way that wasn't clear it was a joke. It was all La Presse needed for their vendetta. I apologize to Eric for involuntarily making him a part of my response to La Presse, and to the Rebel too. Look, I will never stop mocking the media party, and this whole incident only lowers my esteem for them further. But it's also a strong lesson to me about the importance of credibility and of reputation, especially to our 720,000 subscribers on YouTube. If I'm going to make a joke or do satire, and at times I probably will, I'm going to make sure it's obviously a joke. If I'm going to report the news, it's going to be the news. If we're going to call out the old stream media for their fake news, we have to put a strong emphasis on our own accuracy, and that is my promise to our Rebel family, both to my colleagues and our many viewers. All right, now let's get back to the fight. For the Rebel.media, I'm Jack Posobiec.